welcome back to Cinemavino. God bless you guys. Good to have you back here with us.
God bless these United States.
Thank you for sticking with us. We're continuing our presidential series with the movie Lincoln. That's our next to last episode in this series. Then we're going to do the American President next week. Then we're going to go on to Halloween movies. So good time will be had by all.
Can't wait to hear that American President pod.
I know it's going to be some good stuff.
It's going to be a good one.
And I hear Taylor Owens is going to be here for that one. So
no kidding.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth.
Bringing them back.
Shut your whore mouth.
Yeah. And we're all going to be wearing these shirts. So just remember to keep them clean.
What?
Mm-hmm. I don't have any spit up or anything on this week. So if you guys go back on some of the YouTube episodes,
you were a little crusty.
Yeah, there's a couple of episodes where I'm wearing a shirt that's got some a little bit spit up on it.
A little milky.
Are we supposed to wear clean shirts to this?
If you can, but
whoops,
don't stress.
Is there spit up on your shirt?
Mine.
Yeah, there's spit up on my shirt.
Your own. Your own supply.
Mine is also Travis's spit up.
I had a cheese gordita crunch, and I just had just a little bit. Oh, there is some cheese.
There's some of the crunch.
So we got Travis Budd.
Hi.
Sean Jordan.
Hi.
My name's Todd Wofford. And so, yeah, we are drinking the Sagacio 2022 Sonoma County Zinfandel. This is a wine that when I worked at the wine store, I went to frequently throughout the years.
Lovely.
It's a good, affordable $20-ish Zinfandel. It's kind of kept that price point. And so I was curious to come back to it, especially this new year, see how it is.
2022.
It's got a lovely finish.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's compared to the cab we just had. It's really light. It's a little woody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A little nutty.
Yeah. It's got some fun, like bright. Again, this is even more of a party wine than the cab that we're going to do next week is.
So, I'm sorry, the cab that we will do.
Yeah, in the future.
Yeah.
Just predicting the future. Yeah, this one's a fun. This would be a great party wine. And actually, this is the prototypical pizza wine. You're doing a nice meat lover's pizza. Get you this wine. You got something going on there.
What is your go-to pizza order?
In terms of toppings?
Just if you had your druthers, you were making a pizza from scratch. What do you got?
I like thin crust pepperoni.
Just pepperoni. What else? Okay.
I do like if the option for cheese is there and have the extra cheese, I'll go extra cheese.
Yeah.
So
Trav?
I like protein. I like the meat. So I do like the meat lovers, but I would slap on the green bell peppers. I want the onions. I cannot abide black olives. It's not for me.
Period.
Gross.
Just anywhere.
Now,
gross.
Used to be for me back
salad?
in the day, like mushrooms.
Oh, wow.
I used to not fuck with mushrooms at all. It was a texture deal. You know what? If a mushroom is there, whatever.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go out of my way.
Wine has opened my eyes to mushrooms.
I'm surprised it hasn't opened your eyes to olives.
No, that has
Like a Kalamata olive with wine. Tremendous.
Just don't like it.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
No.
Really?
Yeah. That's a lifelong.
But mushrooms, you're like, oh.
I used to hate mushrooms, again, the texture of them. But Malbecs, actually, they have that mushroom flavor to them. So you get a steak with some mushroom on it and a Malbec, that is just a marriage in heaven.
Yeah. I'm going to go pepperoni, mushroom, and jalapeno.
Yes.
Jalapenos are a nice option.
Yeah.
I will give you that.
Yep.
You know, a banana pepper as well. Not go miss.
Yeah.
If I have the option, I'm going to take a jalapeno.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How's your Scoville?
Oh, I as high as I can go. As high as I can go.
Just fuck me up.
You're a heat guy, right?
Also, I can't abide a thin crust. I mean,
I'm a thick
maybe
crust
if
guy.
I'm the only person eating it, but I could eat 3 thin crust pizzas.
I am a hand-tossed daddy.
Yeah, you're basically getting a charcuterie board. You're getting a cracker with a few things on there.
thank you.
And you're not you're gonna be starving later.
Give me that crust, man.
Next question. Are you New York or Chicago?
I don't know.
I don't understand the question. I won't answer it.
Yeah, Chicago is the
New
deep
York,
dish
I'm
with
New York
the
style over the two.
It's what the sauce on top and the cheese
It's
on
what
top.
Jon Stewart calls an above ground pool of marinara in it.
Oh,
I don't think
Probably New York.
Chicago style pizza is legitimately what they eat in Chicago. I think that's a tourist trap. I think actual Chicago pizza is like good pizza. Detroit style pizza, like a pan pizza. It's good.
yes,
It's good pizza.
yeah.
So you don't like the New York, the floppy.
I like a New York pizza. I do. Don't get me wrong.
I like some flop. I've been into like well done crust though, like nice toast,
Little pizza
snap
oven. Little,
crunch.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Little high heat, 700 degrees.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pizza podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, we pair well with
start
this
your timer.
Sagacio. Yeah.
Sagacio.
Yeah,
This
good.
2022 Zinfandel Sagacio.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, I need to drink more.
For about $20. I mean, and this is widely available. It's 15% alcohol drive.
Steal.
So it's got
15%.
15%. It's got high ABV. So
Ooh,
you got
Sean, I'm sleeping on your couch.
something sweeter than you.
That's fine. You're going to have to share it with the skeleton over there.
I want to share it with you.
At least 2 cats.
Your cats.
2 out of 3. Yeah.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
According to Meatloaf, yeah. So we're going to talk about Lincoln a smidge here. Had either of you guys seen this before?
No.
Okay.
I was shocked.
So this was released.
A labor of love from Steven Spielberg. A prolonged. Wait, what's the line?
If you need to read it.
Line.
Yeah, like give Travis lines.
This is a long time project for Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, this was a long time germinating. So
You didn't use the word
It wasn't
germinating.
germinating. It was American.
Hey, I improv, man. I'm like Jackie Gleason, man. I work on the fly.
More like germinating, Gleason.
So this grossed $275 million against a $65 million budget.
It's not bad. Really?
This
Okay.
was nominated for, I believe, 12 Oscars. This was a long-time project for Steven Spielberg, as Travis has informed us.
It was a labor of love, you know.
Yeah, it was a labor of love. I remember hearing about it at least 10 years before it came out, and Liam Neeson was the person that he had originally picked to play Lincoln.
He's not even American.
Neither is Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh.
But Neeson was Irish. But I will say Liam Neeson is closer to the actual height of Abraham Lincoln, who was our tallest president.
That's the most important thing.
They had to cheat quite a bit in this movie to try to get some height out of him.
Yeah, and I believe Daniel Day-Lewis is 6'1", somewhere in that range.
How tall was Lincoln?
6'5".
6'5"? Mm-hmm. It's not that tall.
Daniel Day is like 6'2" in his heart, though.
Yeah, exactly. He got 6 foot.
He earned that inch.
I think my left foot cost him an inch or two.
Yeah. As did it all for all of us. This is loosely based on the book Team of Rivals by Doris Kearns Goodwin. Screenplay was written by Pulitzer Prize winning playwright Tony Kushner, who's worked with Spielberg on several other movies, including the movie Munich. This focuses on a portion of that book, which is the last few months of Lincoln's life leading up to his assassination by John Wilkes Booth. The through line of the film. Exactly. The through line of the film covers Lincoln's attempt to pass the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which would permanently outlaw slavery in the United States. Film features, I would call it an all-star cast. Sally Field as Mary Todd.
It's a great cast.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Robert Todd Lincoln.
Yep.
Tommy Lee Jones as Representative Thaddeus Stevens, who was a militant abolitionist. David Strathairn as the Secretary of State William Seward. And you got James Spader and a Tulsa native, Tim Blake Nelson.
Yeah.
Playing sketchy lobbyists.
TBN.
Who are employed to work kind of the back alleys to help get the amendment through.
Who was the third guy?
I didn't recognize his name.
I knew he was in Deadwood. He was the guy at the convenience store in the beginning of Dusk Till Dawn.
I think for every guy in this movie that you go, oh, wow, it's that guy. There's another guy that go, oh, wait, it's that guy. Where do I know that guy?
This is the second movie we've done featuring Hal Holbrook, who plays Preston Blair, the civilian the rich old guy.
Oh, yeah.
He was also in All the President's Men, playing Deep Throat.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. Even though you don't.
Who was he in this?
He was the old guy. If you look up Hal Holbrook.
The guy who went and negotiated in Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Okay.
The old man. Yeah. So, but yeah, this is the second movie we've done with him. So I'm curious to hear what you guys thought of it. Trav, we'll start with you. What did you think of it?
It was good. I enjoyed it.
TLDR.
It was. I knew it was going to be long, and I wasn't in the mood for it. But after I started watching it, I could tell I enjoyed it because I didn't pause it and look at my phone a bunch.
You weren't on Twitter?
No.
X?
I was on Pornhub. And that is a testament in and of itself, is that I watched this over.
Nothing
I'm not going to tell you my search.
Nothing makes you hornier than the emancipation of people.
Yeah.
And that all the proclamations therein. Well, no, this had it was on Pornhub over here or Sally Field over here, and I was like,
That's a tough
Obviously,
call.
Sally Field.
Sally Field.
Yeah.
Aunt May.
Mary Todd Lincoln.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I know Daniel Day-Lewis is always like with Meryl Streep. Everybody's like, oh my God, it's the GOAT, like the greatest. Oh my, this is the greatest actor. And I don't know. I feel like sometimes there's a lot of smoke blown up their ass. And I'm like, he's a great actor, fine actor, but I don't know if I'm not hit with the awe shovel in the face. But he did a great job.
What other Daniel Day-Lewis films have you seen?
Gangs of New York.
Okay.
There'll Be Blood.
Nope.
You never saw that one?
I've seen the.
I drink your milkshake.
I've seen that part
Okay.
to the end. But yeah, he did great. I love seeing all the extra people that popped up, and I kept looking. I was like, oh my god, it's great. There's James Spader, Timberlake Nelson, Adam Driver shows up near the end
Briefly.
and
Walter Goggins?
Yeah,
Walton Goggins?
Walton Goggins, Gogans,
Walton.
the Gogans.
Walton?
Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins.
Yeah, so everywhere you look, Gail Bedecker from Breaking Bad.
Yep.
Yeah, too many to count, and then too many people whose names I've either never known or never forgotten. Just like workhorse actors that are never given the accolades that they deserve. But like you can throw a stone and hit like 3 great actors in this film.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see some of the history of it, like, the boots on the ground approach, and just a lot of blankets in this film. A lot of walking around with blankets.
Yep.
Like, okay, they're cold in the scene. Not a lot of lights. Very dark hallways. Okay, all right, good deal. But no, the cinematography was excellent. All the sets were great. Some weird things I thought of was especially like at the end where you're hearing cannon fire and you're hearing shouts and joy. Like, I thought they would have shown their view outside his window and had, maybe some special effects of showing the town or whatever. But you never got to see it. I was like, okay, they're keeping it small. It's almost like, because it starts out with the Civil War battle where you're seeing people like dying face down in the mud, literally.
Yeah.
And so I thought there was going to be more of the battles in that. It seemed like that was their mission statement. I'm like, oh shit, it's going to be this kind of movie. All right.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see those historical marks from behind closed doors.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see the lead up to it. So I thought it was a great film. I'd give it an 8, but it's not one that I would, it's a once in a decade film for me, probably.
That's fair. Sean, what did you think?
I loved it. I watched it, literally, I finished it about 5 minutes before you guys were supposed to come over, just because it's football season. There's a lot of stuff going on. I couldn't get around to it, but I sat down and watched it in the middle of the day, and I was like, this is a great fucking movie. This is Steven Spielberg. You can clearly see he cares about it. And then Steven Spielberg with Daniel Day-Lewis, who is a great actor.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Tommy Lee Jones was also
Tommy Lee Jones, great actor. I mean, the cast is incredible. The directing is incredible. The writing is incredible. I'm surprised I haven't seen this movie sooner. Yeah. Maybe it's one of those that I've always kind of seen in the background, just like, I know that's going to be a heavy movie. I don't want to watch it. I'm not in the mood.
I was the same way.
What have you. But today, I don't know if I was just in the right mood or if it's just that good of a film, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, I think this might be a 10, might be a 10 movie. I thought it was really enjoyable. I think where biopics do a really good job is when they don't try to tell the entire life story of a character, but they choose a very small segment of that person's life that was very significant, and they just explore it in depth and really good storytelling. And I think this did a really good job of talking about, all right, he's won the second election. He's not quite into his second term yet. He's trying to get the 13th Amendment passed, and it does such a good job of telling the story of why, and doing such a good job of telling the story of here's the challenge, and here's everything that was going on around it, and here's everything that was going on with the Lincoln presidency at the time. It does such a good job of like laying out the characters and laying out the context and laying out the stakes to everything. We talk about the next movie you're going to watch, The American President, where there are no stakes really. It's the presidency and he has to get all the votes and he's trying to secure all the stuff to pass the law, but it doesn't really matter. It's such a big deal. This is such a big piece of history that we're taught. And in history, it's such a sanitized piece of it where we're looking back at history and it's like, okay, he passed the 13th Amendment and then the 14th Amendment and then the 15th Amendment and it's all this and this. And the history of it is lost. And this movie does such a good job of putting gravity behind it and seeing how much he had to overcome to actually get the 13th Amendment passed. I thought this was so well done at just every aspect. There's the scene where he's at very early in the movie where there's just a very slow push into him. He's in the cabinet meeting talking about why he doesn't have the legal standing to actually have the Emancipation Proclamation and why he needs to get the 13th Amendment passed before the actual war is ended. And it's that scene that sets up so well the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just Spielberg does such a good job of just like letting him monologue. And Daniel Day-Lewis is great at monologuing. He can monologue like a motherfucker. Mm-hmm. And he's just like him to camera, him just like going, and it's great. I think that scene is, I was just kind of like taken aback at everything that it was going on.
Yeah.
I like the way he walked you through the legalese on it too.
He does.
Like,
and
I can't do this because this, because this, because this.
And the way that it establishes his character as having this like political savvy and having this like legal savant sort of like attitude about him and this air about him, but he's also so well spoken, and he tells these like long stories of how to kind of relate something. You kind of see that legal, you know, lawyer in like a closing argument sort of thing that Lincoln was really known for. Is he was a lawyer. He was a great orator. He was really great at just like giving speeches. Mm-hmm. And they leaned on that so heavily with Daniel Day-Lewis. It's so dialogue heavy, but not in like a Sorkin way.
Yeah.
But more of like I want to hang out with this dude. Like I want to just like be around this guy. He has this gravity to him. And Daniel Day-Lewis does such a good job of like bringing that character out into this movie. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
I think it's a 10, and I mean, my thing, it's always, you know, what is the difference between a 9 and a 10? It's always this like a 10 brings that like emotional, brings some sort of emotion out of you, or makes you, elicits some sort of like introspection or something. And I think this gave me sort of like that reverence for the American, you know, political ideology, and like gives you that reverence for like the process, and like gives you that reverence for the presidency. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That I think was, it has a lot of gravity to it with this movie and the way that Spielberg did it.
Yeah.
I will say, comparing this to the other movies we've done, just kind of the through line of the presidency that we kind of talk about is, it's kind of wild to look at the presidency and the way it's portrayed here with Lincoln versus like what the presidency is now. Mm-hmm. Of like, I don't think the president could have any time to just sort of sit around reading a book about Beatles with his son.
Yeah. Or walk around without security.
Yeah. Well, see how that panned out for him. Mm-hmm. So
see, he was stubborn about that too.
Well, the Secret Service didn't exist.
Mm-mm. No. But he did have bodyguards, but he oftentimes didn't want them.
Now, I will say, Travis, you pointed this out off pod.
Yeah, I was going to bring it back up.
One of the most fucking obnoxious things about this movie was the very end of it, where they're riding in the carriage and she's like, the way that history will remember us, they're just going to think of me as your crazy wife. Mm-hmm. And they'll look back at you and they'll think of how great you were. It's like, oh, we don't need to fucking do this. You don't need to put a bow on it. Mm-hmm. We just went through 2.5 hours of this. You don't have to tell us.
That's the perfect way to put it. Just tying a bow on it.
The bow was already on it, and then they decided to sprinkle some little glitter on it. It's like, no,
he couldn't help himself with that.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Much.
Like you were getting batteries, but I was like, man, I hate it when the movie turns around and winks at the audience. Mm-hmm. When they start talking, like trying to break the fourth wall, or like, well, what will that say about our legacy? What will ordinary people?
It's the part in the essay.
And I was like, did she just call me ordinary? Mm-hmm. How dare she?
It's the part in the essay that starts with "in conclusion."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you didn't have to do it. You landed the ship, and now you're just...
In this essay, I will... Yeah, and at the very beginning, it bothered me a little bit, too, where they have Coleman Domingo, great actor, and then I don't know the other actor, but he played Martin Luther King in Selma. And then there were 2 other white actors that came up. Anyway, the guys that were parroting back Lincoln's speech.
The Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah. And they were like...
Mm-hmm. Oh, Gettysburg Address. Mm-hmm.
Right. And they were parroting him back, and they were like, you know, it was almost like a play. Again, it was like a play there where, and then the one guy stays behind and he goes, I'm going to quote some more back to you as I
he
slowly
finishes it.
walk away and fade out. And I'm just like,
It did. It felt like a stage play.
Like, part of it was interesting because I would feel like it's almost like, they see a celebrity on the roll, like, oh my God, Will Ferrell, Anchorman. And then they start quoting the Anchorman quotes back to him. It was like, hey, you remember the time that you said this thing about the emancipation and the proclamation about the emancipation? What about the Gettysburg and
Chris Farley interviewing the Beatles?
Exactly.
Do you remember that time? Do you remember that time that you wrote the song? That was cool.
I mean, it started out for me at least as a great scene where he's like sitting there talking to the soldiers, like, kind of getting to know him, get boots on the ground to kind of understand the people that are pushing forward his agendas and all that. But then I don't know, that first scene broke down for me. I was like, is the rest of this going to be like this? And then the rest of the movie in the middle was great. And then at the end, it was bookended by two bad scenes, I would say.
Yeah.
That's where
also, I'm not as big of a history buff as you two guys, so I wasn't as into it. If this Lincoln had also been fighting vampires, like Abraham Lincoln versus vampires.
I got the movie for you.
Yeah. Or if Abe Lincoln had found out he had super strength or vast psionic powers, 10.
So yeah, I'm a big Civil War nerd. And yeah, that opening scene is where you really feel that Tony Kushner is a playwright, that it was written by a playwright. It feels theatrical. But yeah,
I didn't know you were a big Civil War nerd.
Big Civil War nerd.
Fucking nerd.
Oh, I'm just a big nerd.
Play your bugle, you nerd.
Yeah, we're gonna play Reveille. Daniel Day-Lewis disappears into the role, and he does as good a performance
as he always does.
Yeah,
fucking method actor.
Yeah, just vanishes.
My favorite Abe Lincoln was in Bill and Ted.
Robin Hood Men in Tights. Oh yeah. But yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis supposedly he was so into character that Spielberg wouldn't allow British crew to be around him with their natural accents because it would spoil his own Midwestern accent. Supposedly Lincoln had a very high nasally voice, like what Day-Lewis goes for here.
Yeah.
Party on, Wayne, and party on, God. Wild stallions.
But it's like Lincoln was such a complex person. I mean, he was very likable, friendly, like he's depicted here, but he was very brilliant. Supposedly, when he lost his election, I believe to the House of Representatives when he was a younger man, he took a few years to just read every book, and he had a huge study. He read every book in there, read everything, and came out of it like basically the genius that you see in the movie, where he can just quote, Euclid or whoever just off the top of his head. His IQ had to have been just off the charts. But he also suffered from what we would probably say now was manic depression. He was very violent mood swings. He would go into deep depression. And some of that you have to wonder because they referenced the death of his son, Willie, who died in the White House of some mystery fever. Another son died before he came to Washington.
A lot of mystery fevers back then.
Yeah. It was, I read that when Shakespeare had 10 siblings or something, but they said that something like 3 or 4 out of every 10 people born died before the age of 10.
That's why you had to have a lot of kids back then.
Yeah. And so
play the odds.
So yeah, supposedly Mary Lincoln never recovered from the death of Willie, the middle son.
She was cuckoo.
Yeah. She basically had a breakdown.
Yeah.
But Lincoln, I don't think supposedly Lincoln never recovered from the death of their first son. He never got over that. And so, yeah, he's prone to insomnia. He had horrible nightmares, as they talk about in this movie. He suffered from some pretty profound mental issues.
Well, and didn't Mary Todd Lincoln also just have an obsession with death and was just
especially
always,
after that.
Yeah, and always she foretold his death. There's a whole bunch of lore around some of the stuff that she said prior to him getting shot.
Mm-hmm.
She sounds like a Targaryen.
He
saw his own body lying in repose in the White House,
and he had that constant dream that they reference where it's he's on a ship basically being taken away, and he said every time he had that dream something bad would happen in his life. And
so, he said later on he saw the ship with all the slaves on it, and that stuck with him. Mm-hmm. So when I saw that, I was like, that's the ship. He's thinking about him being on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Was Abe Lincoln hogging out?
Probably
6'5".
Yeah. Yeah.
So that fang swinging.
They think that he had some sort of congenital heart problem, which is also why his kids didn't live very long, but some Marfan syndrome or something where he was like tall and gangly.
He was a boxer. He was a bare knuckle boxer.
Yeah. He was in some sort of local militia there in Illinois.
Fuck you up.
Yeah, he had a wild life. He really did.
Yeah.
But yeah, and they, like you say, they really take out a bite-sized portion of Lincoln's life. There's no one movie that could ever capture everything about him. He's and even here it's difficult because he was such a complex person.
Well, and they do such a good job. I mean, obviously they age him like crazy, even throughout this movie. Mm-hmm. And Ulysses S. Grant, who is once again another British actor,
love him too.
Love him too.
Jared Harris,
great fucking actor. Says to him,
Nailed it.
It looks like you've aged 10 years in the course of 1 year. Mm-hmm. You know, and they very much like age him in the progression of this movie. But I mean, if you look at pictures of Abe Lincoln, he looked rough.
Yeah.
By the end of the Civil War, he was in rough shape.
He was not in good health when he died.
But I mean, you look at every presidency and you see like start to finish, like Barack Obama looked young and handsome at the start of his presidency. By the end of it, you're like, ooh.
He's gray, very gray.
Joe Biden started in bad shape. Mm-hmm.
What was Ulysses Grant, the actor's name?
Jared Harris.
Jared Harris. Mm-hmm. And then the other guy, Lee Pace, the other actor,
from the
tall guy that was in, and both those characters in The Foundation on Apple Plus.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. Season 3 coming
based on a book by Isaac Asimov.
Did you watch Foundation?
I read the book.
You haven't watched it?
I watched part of season 1. I didn't finish it.
Why don't you get on that?
You should read the book.
Want that?
By Isaac Asimov. It's very short.
You watch it, I'll read it.
Oh, okay.
Simultaneously.
So, I would give this a 9 out of 10.
What would take it from a 9 to a 10?
It's
Psychic powers.
Yeah.
If he had
vampires
unleashed that hammer from those Calvin Kleins. That thing swinging.
That's the weirdest metaphor I've ever heard in my life.
Sorry.
That thing's swinging.
Did they have Calvin Kleins back then?
I don't think so.
I don't think he's born yet.
I think they wore loincloths.
I mean, time travelers had them.
Petticoats.
Okay. They were wearing them. Stitch all over their underwear.
So what would take it from 9 to a 10? I'm sorry.
It's weird because it's like, honestly, it's like I don't know that a movie about Lincoln to me could ever hit that point through no fault of its own. Just because it's like it's like because I'm a nerd for Lincoln and for the Civil War and stuff. It's like I know that I'm watching the highlight reel, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like he's too complex for one movie. And so it's like I don't know how you would ever incorporate that. You could do seasons of stuff about him and still not hit everything. You know, that's honestly how I feel about the Beatles. And it's like it's interesting they're going to do 4 different movies about the Beatles, one from each Beatles perspective.
Nerd.
I know.
You fucking nerd.
It's crazy. But
what if he fought a whole bunch of Klansmen vampires?
Again, that'd be 10.
Yeah.
But it's a great movie. It really is. It's the music is awesome. I love John Williams' music in it. It's very.
Was that John Williams?
Oh yeah,
should.
He hits that right note because Lincoln was, you know, a very melancholic person. He was very sad.
So you're telling me it had Steven Spielberg directing, Daniel Day-Lewis starring, John Williams doing the music. This is a great fucking movie. This is like a recipe for a perfect movie.
It is. Yeah. But yeah, it is. It's one of the cinematography by Janusz Kaminski is great.
Janusz,
who's married to Holly Hunter in real life. They're a couple.
Right. And you are excellent at accents. You do a good Holly Hunter. You guys got to hear this.
I mean, I think Holly Hunter kind of sounds like this, don't you think?
Is that your Clinton?
No, that's more my Ross Perot. You know, it's like that's NAFTA. But yeah, it like you said, it has all the makings of a great movie, and it really is. It's awesome, and it's great to rewatch it. You find new stuff that you like. I love watching James Spader, Tim Blake Nelson.
It's a like densely packed 2.5 hours. Like, there's a lot that happens in that 2.5 hours.
It is, and I love that about Spielberg is he makes sure that you get everything you can out of it.
Who's Lincoln's right hand man? Who's that actor? I've seen him in everything.
Oh, his 2 advisors.
Yeah,
one
like
of them,
his main secretary, state guy.
Yeah.
One of them is Jeremy Strong, who was in Succession. The other guy, I'm not sure. Yeah, supposedly those two guys.
I kept wanting to say he was the guy from Law and Order, but it's not him.
Like, see, everybody's
it's
movies.
one of those, I think.
Not
Jeremy Strong.
Everybody in this movie has been in like a ton of stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. If this movie isn't, or if this character isn't like, oh my god, it's that character. It's a guy that you're like, oh, it's that guy. I just don't know where from.
But
it's a fine line.
Yeah. But yeah, you'll find new stuff every time to appreciate about it. And so it does reward rewatchability.
Yeah. My mom has this on Blu-ray.
Does she?
She told me today.
Oh, nice. Did she like it?
She said it was weird that Abraham Lincoln's voice was so high.
Yeah. But yeah, everything read was like...
She said, don't say fuck on the podcast.
Oh, John Hawkes. That's not him, but he was the guy that was with Tim Blake Nelson and James Spader. The third dude was John Hawkes.
Yeah.
White jeans.
Yeah, everything that people said about him was he had a strength for as big of a guy as he was. He had a very strangely high pitched voice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
My brother, tenors. That's us.
But yeah, this has been another episode of Cinemavino.
What? No, Vamp. I gotta say this guy's name. Oh, there he is. David Stratham.
Yeah, David Stratham.
What's his? Oh, David Strathairn.
Strathairn?
Strathairn?
Oh, that is an R. Okay.
Strathairn.
Yeah, David Strathairn.
David Strathairn. Irish?
Sounds like it.
Okay. Well, the way I said it.
From County Cork.
Oh, you're from Strathairn.
You know the Strathairn.
Anyway, he's great all the time, and he never gets his accolades because nobody knows his fucking name.
It's David
He's like
Strathairn.
Stanley Tucci before Stanley Tucci got Tucci'd.
Yeah.
I know Stanley Tucci, his name everywhere.
Isn't Tucci's a restaurant here in town?
Yeah,
Maybe.
probably
Italian restaurant, right?
Damn good pizza.
You think they would have like a pepperoni mushroom jalapeno?
Probably.
Ooh.
Yeah, thin crust.
No. Hand toss.
But yeah, another episode of Cinemavino. Great movies, only drunker. Tune in next week. American President. It's going to be good.
Lincoln.
It's all right.
The movie or the podcast?
Oh,
Yes.
before you watch The American President, you should watch Dave with Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver.
Frank Langella.
Yeah.
That's your bonus homework.
That's your boner homework. Got SJ, TB,
Hey, ooh,
TW.
boner homework.
That's a band name. We will see you guys next week.